Alright friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment and our Aserai campaign playthrough. And you're probably wondering what the fuck Aserai campaign playthrough? You are nowhere near the Aserai territory. That's because we are a gun for hire, right? We are out in the mercenary stage at this point. We just saved the Empress and her army here. More accurately, we came in afterwards and picked up all of the spoils. Now our army's pretty strong, 163 troops, and look at all these prisoners, right? These are all prisoners from that battle, and we need to make a run to town. I played a little bit last night, slightly inebriated. We're gonna head up north, maybe siege a castle or two. Here we go again. It's pacifism Bannerlord version. This is incredible. Did they just release all the prisoners? They did. So I saved Regea. We saved the day here. And then they declare peace with the Northern Empire. We're only at war with Britannia now, which is, thousands of miles away over here. And this whole southeast, for whatever reason, these guys are just pacified. Maybe it's 120 degrees every day or something. I don't know what's going on here. I think we're just going to leave the Southern Empire. We need to go to town anyway. I was going to say we need to go to town to sell these prisoners. Never mind. Regea is very happy to release them all right after I save her ass. A lot of loyalty there. We'll be teaching her a lesson here in a battle later on. But I think we're going to go west. I think maybe we'll join... What's this guy following me for? I can't make an army, so I'm not quite certain. That's one of my companions. I threw some troops on him just so he'd get some combat experience. He'd be able to wander around, get some leadership and shit like that. There's a tiny little army sieging here for whatever reason. We're going to wait until this guy arrives. Not quite certain what's going on here, but we're going to help. This gal will consider it a favor. We're not gonna, we lost 2 troops there, that's fine. We continue to do poorly though with the auto resolve. And we're gonna go into this town here. We're gonna buy some food, and let's renounce, repudiate, whatever you want to call it. Let's remove let's cease our engagement here. You guys want peace with too many people. Clearly you don't need a mercenary. The contract is fucking ended. Our agreement is terminated. Southern Empire dipshits. Some hired elite pikes, and that healer keeps popping up. She may be a companion for us down the road. It's really nice to have healer companions, especially as governors. And in this episode, I should have said this at the beginning. We are going to talk about companions, not for 40 minutes or anything like that, but for sure at some point in this episode, I'm going to spend 5 to 10 minutes talking about campaign strategy, the pre-planning and speccing of characters, and some of the things that I think are really important to do if you want to have a highly successful campaign. If you want to have a highly successful set of companions. It's one of the most often questions I get is, what do you do with your companions? How do you assign their perks? There's all these choices, right? And they have intense ramifications later in your campaign. In the short term, we're just loading up on, and you see me do this over and over again. We're loading up on equal parts food, and then every once in a while, I will sell the most plentifully listed junk in our inventory. I try to do this on a somewhat regular basis. It's just like a maintenance workout for your body. I try to keep our inventory from becoming overwhelmed with a bunch of, junk parts here. And of course, you're collecting money the whole way. Now, we're losing money right now for our party, but we're also... Apologies. I'm like belching over here left and right. Hopefully you guys can't hear that. Hopefully it's not too rude. Anyways, we are piling up money here, but our party is, a couple thousand a day. So we do need battles. We need to put these guys into war so they can earn their keep. And we would like to fight for the Northern Empire. Something I'd like to discuss. Service. Yeah, we'll fight, but we want money. How much money? Beautiful. Another one of these very wealthy kingdoms, evidently. This guy's got on a nice silk robe or whatever. He's all pompously dressed. They got some sumptuary laws going on. If you've never heard of sumptuary laws, that was basically the elitists of their day saying, hey, you peasants can't wear the same shit we are. Initially it was just too expensive for the middle class and the peasants. There was actually no middle class, by the way. It was just merchants and shit like that. Once they started to get more money, the aristocracy was like, this is our club. You don't get to look like us. And so they passed what were called sumptuary laws. And that basically made it illegal for people to wear clothing that looked like the nobles. These bunch of fucking pompous elitists, of course, all of them were just born into their situation. Most of these guys, it was definitely not a meritocracy bureaucracy. Most of these nobles were just dipshits. Of course, some of them had plenty of schooling and tutoring, and so they were, what's the right word? Polished, right? They had war teaching from the age of 12. A lot of the young nobles would be, you know, taught from age 7 on, everything from Greek to Roman warfare. They learned all about Alexander the Great. But anyways, these sumptuary laws were another way we got going on here. Okay, the Western army's pounding the Valandians. That's too bad. We want to help. Anyways, whoa. Okay, we have a huge Valandian force, and these guys, Gyarios is in trouble here. I'm gonna loiter. Of course, Wazu has absolutely no loyalty, so if Gyarios is gonna get slaughtered here by this Valandian force, we're not gonna be slaughtered amongst them. It's a strong Valandian force, too. Look at that, it's 57 sergeants. So if he can't get away here, we may join the battle, but we also may leave right mid-battle. And this is good for some players who are wondering how the fuck, as a small army, what do you do in these massive battles where you're a mercenary? Obviously, you get very few troops. A lot of times it reduces the amount of troops you actually have on the battlefield. And they're outnumbered 2 to 1. Actually, exactly 2 to 1. 1092 to 5. Anyways. Yeah, so they're outnumbered badly here, and we don't want to get caught up in it. Now, the beautiful thing is as a mercenary, you don't have to. You know, we're not loyal here. We're just a fucking hired gun. And even though in real life, we're gonna join here. Even though, look at this guy, he's smart. He's not joining. In real life, if you helped to fight and then you left in mid-battle, your mercenary contract would be terminated, right? If this was the German mercenaries that were prevalent throughout Europe in the 15th, 16th, 17th century. This would not be tolerable, but if this battle starts to go badly, which it very likely will, we will simply leave. And the gambling term for this is a free roll. We will enter this, we will observe the conditions. It's nighttime, I can't see very well, that's not going to help. And I didn't really look closely at the Western Empire army. Now looking at it up close, I don't like what I see. I see almost no cavalry. I see a bunch of militia archers, or at least low-level archers. And the Valandian force is powerful. Not just larger, but it's got elite troops and tons of heavy cavalry. Later in the game, heavy cavalry are not that big of a threat, but early in the game against these little weak-ass archers, they destroy shit, which is one of the reasons that a lot of guys think that heavy cavalry is overpowered, or at least really powerful. In Bannerlord, you need to have a lot of cavalry in your army. 8, 19. We have like 30 troops, 35, 40 troops on the battlefield, so this is not going to work. I mean, I'm still free rolling here, and what I mean by that is if this battle starts to go bad, we leave, and there's no ramifications of that. Gyarios doesn't mind, evidently. He's like, oh yeah, that's fine. You let me be captured. Cool, we'll pay you some money. Thank you for your work on your way. And I'm just going to hold lines here for our skirmishers and archers. Of course, the Valandians are targeting us, which is bad, right? There's like 100 heavy cavalry charging us here, and I don't have the character from my deathmatch campaign. It's not like I can just carve these guys apart. In fact, I'm highly vulnerable here. That guy was coming in couch lanced. A single couch lance will drop this guy. But we're gaining levels, right? We're sort of holding the line back here, holding the flood back against this giant amount of Valandian cavalry, and we're going to leave. I can just tell you that right now. I'm just kind of racking up a few kills here before we hit the exits. And it's a strange process. You don't have to drag your army to the edge of the map, and so you don't suffer consequences. You don't suffer casualties like you would in real life, beating feet, right? All of these heavy cavalry would pursue us and just ride down your guys. All you have to do is get far enough away from these enemy troops and simply hit... yeah, we'd like to leave, and magically, of course, your troops leave, and then Gyarios here is going to be left to his fate. He's going to be captured for sure. That said 200 heavy cavalry, and the other wing, there might be a whole nother wing with more cavalry. So we're fucking out of here, right? This is a no-win situation. The death spam has been really bad, and before we get our army annihilated, before any more troops die, we're out of here, right? Retreat. Are you sure you want to retreat? Goodbye, Gyarios. Good luck. Right, we are a mercenary. Wazu, especially, we're role-playing in this campaign, has absolutely no scruples. I mentioned it earlier. This guy is totally avaricious, totally greedy to a despicable level. This is not your white knight. This is not your hero. And so Wazu, they all got captured. We're gonna rest up in this town. We're gonna recruit some troops here. There's a chance that Valandian force comes here, which would be lovely for us, right? We can engage in a highly profitable siege. But Wazu has been reported by our troops, again, role-playing. You fellas got to give me a little bit of rope here to have some fun. He's been reported by our troops as waking up in the middle of the night and lurking about the army camp, going into their packs and shit like that and stealing their little coins. They get these little tiny wages, and Wazu collects all their money that he's paying them in wages. Nobody says anything because he's this hulking, gigantic, mean-looking Aserai dude with a big afro. Nobody says a word. But he's just fucking rampaging through their shit. This is beautiful. Please come siege. Yeah, that's fucking beautiful. They just died. That's one of my favorite sayings. People like it when I say that. This Valandian force. I guess I better not say that in situations I'm not certain. We only have 164 troops, so we could lose this, but I think we're going to be able to rack up some good shit here. Oh shit. I'm in charge of the siege. I just realized that. So we'll build some counter siege here, a couple catapults. Is it just my imagination or those build instantly here? So speaking of, right, we're also gonna, speaking of perks, right, we're gonna power level our engineering here, right? It's only 125. We're gonna definitely find a catapult at some point during this siege. If you don't remember, the two skills I'm leveling is the artillery, is the endurance and engineering slash what's the very bottom one? Intelligence. Those are the two things we're focused on with our focus points, which will be something I talk about more in detail later in this episode. What about this? Let's try this. I actually don't have a lot of experience doing ambushes because I don't see this as tremendously valuable. Now, one of the ways that this is valuable is you can destroy their siege and stall them, right? And essentially, the enemy will lose their cohesion because you destroy their siege weapons. But I find this process kind of cowardly. We're running out there. The whole idea is you're like surprising the enemy and throttling their small force. Well, first of all, that would almost never happen. They would just never let a bunch of guys come out and destroy their siege, or at least very rarely that happened in history, right? Of course, they would defend it. But the reinforcement process for this seems really slow. We're more or less allowed to butcher their troops. And it may be different here, but when I did this with my late game campaign, of course, watch me get killed here. This will be hilarious. When I did this with my late game campaign, I was easily able to destroy all of these troops, and it was just like the system almost didn't know what to do with us. It was like, wow, okay, you can retreat now, but you destroyed all their siege, you killed all their troops, and even after the reinforcements came, we just skewered them all. So we'll see what we can do here with this weaker army. We'll spread out 3 archer divisions, the 4th, 5th, and 6th. By now, you guys should be familiar with that. I love making crane formations. I like to have at least 3 divisions here. Now, I don't know how to actually make my troops attack this. I love this shit. He's telling the siege tower to see you in hell. I don't think siege towers go to hell. I don't think that's a process. Yeah, see, I don't know how to make them kill that other than saying charge. The problem with that is that these guys are very likely to charge their infantry, and they do have good infantry here. They have very few archers, but these are knights, right? I guess they're dismounted. The idea is that they're in like siege mode. We're killing banner knights and stuff like that, but those guys have nasty spears. I don't really want my cavalry, and there's a bunch of them. What is it, 40 something? I don't really want my cavalry charging these guys. We can kind of disrupt them and run through here. We killed Ingalther. He was the guy leading their army. We smoked him with a javelin. So I think we're going to farm this for a little bit and leave, because honestly, I show my lack of experience in parts of the game pretty readily. I'll tell you guys when I don't know something. I'm not gonna. Oh yeah, enemy reinforcements have arrived. Tailworlds was in such a hurry that they didn't even spell it right. Enemy reinforcements. Here they come, these fuckers. But I'll tell you guys when I don't know something very well. And in this case, I don't actually know how to make my units destroy the siege. I think charge. I can't click them. They're not highlightable somehow. So we're just going to do a little bit of farming here. I'm basically just going to throw most of my javelins here. I'm going to allow my archers to work on these guys, kill some nobles. And then if the siege weapons are not destroyed, we'll just retreat. I don't actually mind if there's a siege here. And this is a good spot for you highly experienced players to show my ignorance by putting in the comments, hey, you dipshit, this is how you do it. You do that, you do this, you click this, you click that. You're supposed to be able... Oh, shit. That would probably kill your horse, by the way. You're supposed to be able to destroy all their siege towers, and I don't actually know how to do it other than saying charge. I don't know if you can... Maybe there is no way to actually attack just the siege weapons without your guys sort of being vulnerable to their troops. Of course, their troops are trying to defend the siege weapons, sort of. right? They're kind of loosely huddled around it. They got some sharpshooters now, so we'll kill some of these guys too. But I think this is likely going to be fairly unresolved, or this is going to be an indecisive battle. It says the enemy is organizing a retreat. More reinforcements are coming in, so they now have 60 or 70 troops. I don't want to suffer a bunch of losses here in case immediately after this they begin the siege. So I think we'll pound them again at range here for a little bit, but it actually makes a lot more sense to me since I'm just kind of wasting your time for us to beat, feet, and run. I mean, these siege towers are at 90% health, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what we're going to be able to accomplish here, other than, you know, getting these archers some levels up. At this stage, our army's pretty experienced, though, right? So we'll just get out of here. I can just tell these guys to retreat, and I think there's no consequences to that, right? We still have 159 troops. We suffered a few casualties there, but I think we're going to do just fine with the siege here. It's interesting. It didn't give us any credit, no mercenary credit for the kills we got. So maybe it's because we fled. All right, so here we go. Begin the siege. Unfortunately, it's at night, although some guys, maybe they like the cinematics of it. I'm trying to do my best to make sure you guys can see. Yeah, we don't want to get staggered. And look at our throwing skill. We're getting to the point where this guy's about to be a beast. He's going to be firing javelins right through the fucking breastplates of guys holding up their shields. Wazu is leveling very quickly, and he is getting fat. He's eating at nice restaurants. I'm going to turn this down just a hunch. Just a hitch, so that way we can see our own troops, but it's not like this incredibly annoying orb glowing above their head. I try to do that. I'll adjust it here and there. Hopefully you guys forgive these little subtle changes. We got a little moonrise here, or moonset or whatever, over Legetta. This is a good keep for defense. We will definitely, this is, I would say, a top 8, a top 10 city to defend. At some point or other, we'll be making an episode for the channel about the best castles and keeps to defend, and I'm probably going to break it down by kingdom. It might take weeks for me to sort of assemble and rank a list, so it's going to take a while to make each episode, but a lot of guys have been clamoring for it, and I think this is a valuable skill to learn, right? And not just a skill, but knowledge to have. Basically, in a campaign, you want to have an Ala mode, right? You want to have, actually, a better analogy is Helm's Deep, right? The Rohirrim had this defensive place that Tolkien literally talked about. This was their place where if shit was going to hell in a handbasket or whatever, however the saying goes, that they could retreat to. I think there are ladders down here, but I cannot see them. We just destroyed a siege tower, though, I think. I can't move for some reason. Get the fuck out of my way. So what I'm going to do here is position archers on this side over here. I'm essentially going to heavily defend that side, and now I'm looking for a catapult. I'm going to put my 6th Corps right here. We will defend that side. But just to finish that point, it's very important in a campaign, especially early on, to know what your defensive structures look like, to have an escape plan, to have an out plan, to have a contingency plan. I'm highly caffeinated. All those things mean the same thing here. We're going to get some siege EXP here and blast their siege tower. Or if not their siege tower, we're going to kill their troops as we enjoy this beautiful evening here. We got a nice protectable spot. I accidentally dragged one of my infantry divisions. In fact, here, let's set these guys in a we can put them here as bodyguards. It's nice to have 6 guys in a keep defense, especially up here, right? If the enemy starts attacking us up here, I'll have these 6 guys to throw at the enemy. We can kill some of these sharpshooters here. Hurry up and get me some more flammable balls here. We're going to rack up skill points for this for our siege. But again, just to finish that point, it's very important early in a campaign where you're only going to have 2 or 3 cities and or castles to have defendable ones. And what I mean by that is either high-level walls so you can auto-resolve with good-sized garrisons, or my preference, I'm getting my words confused. Keep sieges that you know you can defend, that you've scouted out ahead of time, just like Napoleon at the Battle of Austerlitz. You know, we're going to do our homework here before the battle actually starts. That way victory is not decided on the field of battle. Victory is decided a month beforehand. Look at these fucking poor saps. They're lined up for the ladder over there, and it's the whole screen, right? We're going to be gaining some massive skill points for this siege. And as long as they hold out there for a little bit, I'm going to be able to literally dump all of these siege balls right into these packed troops of Landians. This is beautiful. I'm not even looking. I'm just clicking the button and watching over there to make sure we don't get stormed over. But this is just glorious, right? For our EXP, of course, for the siege defense here, these Valandians are dying 15 at a time. It's all elite troops dying too. It doesn't matter how they elite they are if they get hit by a catapult. They all die the same, right? That was one of Napoleon's favorite sayings. To cannon, all men are equal. And of course, he was referring to it kills officers just as readily as it kills foot troops and peasants. To cannon, all men are equal. That's a great Napoleon quote. I'm a big fan of quotes, whether it's Bismarck and, you know, steel and blood and shit like that, iron and blood. I'm a huge fan of quotes. And of course, I misquote guys all the time, right? You guys are going to have to forgive me. I'm playing, I'm trying to perform tactics. I'm trying to think of what stocks I want to sell today in my portfolio and at the same time not get killed in this castle defense. So we'll do what best we can. You guys can readily correct me on stuff. I don't mind. I'm kind of speeding this along too because I'm trying to make not every siege last 40 minutes here. Although this siege is looking more and more perilous here the longer it plays out. They have a siege tower, unfortunately, that made it up over here, and I'm feeling imperiled here. Their infantry just blasted through all the militia. So I just got reinforcements, so the second corps is brought over here. I'm gonna have these guys attack and sort of try to push back this Valandian, the storm here. Just like a tournament, right? We kick and swing and they fucking melt. Wow, 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 kill them all. The militia is also arriving. I got peasants here swinging their sickles. Now, we have no allegiance to these peasants, right? But we'll gladly have them take the brunt of the Valandian assault while we set up our defenses here. It's time to start playing this out like it's a more perilous siege here. I'm going to get down in the courtyard. The commander is getting excited because he likes a challenging siege here. We just lost half our health because I forget I'm not Superman. Gravity fucks. Wazu doesn't know about gravity. If you haven't watched any of the cut screens, Wazu's a little bit lost when it comes to gravity. So I'm probably gonna fuck around with that aspect of it. Little role-playing element. Wazu's effectively a greedy, clumsy, highly lethal warrior, right? He's like Gru the Wanderer for those comic book fans from 40 years ago. If you never heard of it, it went right over your head. But we're gonna have a little fun here. We're gonna role-play a little bit so this campaign is interesting to you fellas, right? There's going to be a storyline. There's going to be some drama. There's going to be some stealing of troops' wages at night, right? We're going to add some elements to this that hopefully you fellas enjoy. All right, we're also going to do tactics. I now have 2 archer divisions here, an infantry division halfway pushed up that ladder, those stairs, and on the other side, I was talking in the middle of it, but I put an infantry division on the stairs just like I did here, and an archer division down in the courtyard, right? We're basically preventing the enemy from pouring down these stairways at us. Now, I forgot to mention it. I saw it at the time. You may have seen it. We blew up the ram, or more accurately, somebody in our defenses blew up the ram. So the enemy only has these 2 accesses. I think it's ladders over here, and it's a siege tower on the other side. Well, if you ever have that situation, ladders and siege towers, prioritize the siege tower, because the siege tower is like halfway between ladders and a ram. And what I mean by that is way more guys get up a siege tower than ladders. Of course, most of you guys know this. Again, a lot of these comments I'm making as if new players are watching this. So we're sticking an archer division here, and I'm going to stick infantry. I don't know if I'm going to stick them up here, but I'm bringing the posse up here, right, because the Valandians are likely to start targeting us. Here they come, in fact. Well, hurry up, boys. Wazu needs help. Plus, he's hungry. He's going to eat some donuts while you guys fight. We could throw some of these rocks. In fact, let's put our sword away here. It's time to start bitch slapping guys. Wazu likes to fight hand to hand, so we're going to bludgeon this enemy. We're just going to bash the shit out of these guys just like his... Look at this shit. It's almost like they've heard the legend of the bare-fisted Wazu, and the enemy flees, right? We just pounded these guys, kicked them off the fucking siege towers, and victory is ours. As soon as Wazu started swinging, I swear, as soon as he started swinging his fists, this battle ended. The Valandians flee. That was a highly profitable episode for us. And here's Wazu, victorious as usual. Oh shit, he got pushed. Wazu is famous for not understanding gravity, and that continues here. Some militia or whatever shoved him in the back, and he fell to a fucking another broken leg. compound fracture and part of the bone splintered into his testicle. So he's going to be walking with a little bit of a limp for a while. But look at this shit. Look at his siege. He just doubled his siege skills in one battle. Another huge amount of influence and money and gold. We barely lost any troops. Check the alone. She racked up skills, including athleticism and stuff like that. So that was beautiful. And, you know, a splinter in your testicle is worth it, right? Especially when it's not you suffering it. So we take all these insolent Vlandians prisoner. Oh, I forgot about this too. They had captured Gyarios and his forces, so we get to free all these guys. Look at our relation goes through the roof. They all love us, even though we ditched them on the battlefield, right? We literally abandoned these guys, left them to their fate, ran to the castle like cowards. Then we free them all, and we're the hero. And we get, look at, because of how the system works, we get all their troops. We get 100 and I don't even know what to do here. We get 135 troops. Obviously, we can't take all these guys on. Although I know what I can do here. Some guys have suggested this. This is what you want to do if you're in a situation like this and you're at a city. All these troops here, crossbow and stuff like that, just take them all, right? I could click through this. These are kind of the troops that I want. That's what I would take normally. And I would dump some of these, you know, troops, but just take all these guys, right? And what we can do is we can donate them to the garrison for more influence, more money. Same thing with these prisoners. We'll take all 600 here. And then I think what I'm going to do is you won't see it. I will skip ahead a little bit because suddenly I have tons of loot to sell. Look at all this loot. Some more nice armor for us. I have all these prisoners to slowly take to the ransom dealer, right? We're like slave traders here. I've got tons of inventory to sell. I've got some upgrades to do. And we'll come back and talk about perks with the little fancy editing. We don't need to recruit anymore. We got plenty of troops. All right, so I'll be right back. All right, so we'll adjust the music here because now we're going to talk a bit about companions. And the easiest way I can describe this and the importance of it is very simple, right? You have a fire extinguisher under your porch because you want to prepare for the unknown, right? For the possibility things will go wrong. Now, I'll cover Wazu here for a little bit, and then we'll also cover the scout and let's see, probably Arwa as a governor. So we're focused again on riding and athletics because that's the things that Wazu's going to be doing the most, right? He's going to be riding around on a horse and running around on the field, racking up points. Of course, he's going to be swinging his sword and throwing weapons as well. Those are the four main combat things that we are focused on. Now, I've got 1 point here, and I kind of want to talk about where I'm going to designate that, probably to this trade point here. I got to boost my trade skill so that we can sell shit. Wazu, again, wants more money. That's probably makes the most sense. I don't fuck with tactics, and the main reason is that I'm very rarely auto-resolving, and I prefer to fight my battles. Ditto with scouting. This is going to be our scout, right? Check the alone, and I will talk at length about that component of it, right? You basically have the ability to assign certain people in your army certain roles. In this case, oh, I thought she was already assigned. Check the alone. This scout, check. Check, something like that. She is going to be our scout. So you go into this menu here and you click her face. You can also see, of course, who has the highest skill in that area. Now, it's not as easy as all that, right? You can't just say, oh, hey, I want this guy with 300 medicine skill to be my doctor. Some of the skills don't apply, and I will talk about that in a second. For all the other positions, Wazu is the strongest member. Best medicine, best engineering. As you just saw, he gained a massive amount of points. But we will have a specialized scout. Her sole job is scouting. Now, Wazu, of course, I'm focused on his skills, right? His steward skill, his endurance, his riding, but particularly these top three here, engineering, medicine, and steward. We want this skill here more than anything, right? Long term, the Minister of Health, +1 hit points to troops for every skill point above 250. And I want to spend 20 seconds talking about this. If a companion has this skill, I'm almost certain it does not affect your party if you assign them to be the medicine person for your army. I've got a skill point to designate here, but I think I really want to put a point here onto trade because a few of these low-level trade skills do have a nice tangible benefit. I'm sure there's some guys saying, well, put some points to tactics and then you won't whine like a bitch about auto-resolve. But I also want to level up his two-handing. In the short term, we will do this trade. That'll help him sell equipment for more money, more dinars, because Wazu wants dinars, right? He wants to get laid and he wants dinars and he wants food. So we'll put that into effect here. Now, this other skill here, this medicine, this is an interesting one. You have the ability to respec your character. So this is nice, chance to recover from old age, but this is more important in the short term. Plus 5% recovery rate for every type of food. Nobody's old yet in our campaign. I'm not worried about them dying of old age. I am worried about them healing though. So what we do is we add that spec there. Let's see, I got to wait a little bit here. We're going to do the better healing for the short term, right? We get plus 45% healing rate because we have all 9 types of food. Lovely. More pacifism here is Valandia. As soon as we get here, they declare peace. It's like peace is following us like a dark cloud. So if you want to change these specs, you just come in here, you tower over the guy at the tournament and say, yeah, I want to make some changes. This is for me. And then I would go down to his requisite skill, make that change, and we could adjust that. So what we'll simply do is later on, we will adjust Wazu's skill here for chance of recovery from death due to old age for every clan member. We will add that later once guys are actually threatened by old age. Right now, we're young, we're virile, we don't give a fuck. We want to heal faster after every battle so we can fight more and acquire more dinars. Now look at all these engineering skills we need to add, right? Plus 30, I'm going to go through a few of these. A lot of these though, okay, so this is really interesting. Both of these skills here, in fact, this sheet doesn't matter at all because you see that it says governor. You can never be the governor as the main character. I don't know if that's a bug or intentional, but in other words, those top benefits do not matter at all for us. And I should describe, right? You see how there's a top benefit and a lower benefit. There's 2 of them on there. When it says engineer governor, the top one there is referring to the one on the left, whereas the governor is the one on the right. Now, again, the governor, this never affects us, right? So we can never be the governor. However, these perks are vital for your companions, and I'll talk about Arwa and some potential other things that relate to governors in a second. Make sure I didn't choose the wrong one here. Some of these you can, it's very much to a preference. Some of them are very close, and what I mean by that is they both benefit you sort of equally, and it really comes down to your preference. So here's a good example. I want more recruits rather than a little bit more EXP for my troops. I'm not really worried about my troops getting EXP. They're going to fight a lot. They're going to gain EXP. The next one, this is really hard decision, right? 20% siege camp or much better armor for everybody. And you notice none of these say governor, so both of these affect us, right? Plus 5 armor to all equipped armor in your formation. That's massively important as a captain. If Wazu is in charge of 200 guys, think of that. Plus 5 to armor. That's like 4 armor pieces? Plus 20 to armor to everybody? That's huge. So another difficult one, but I prefer mangonels and trebuchets, the reload speed. And I think this is referring to the campaign stage only. All right, so that's Wazu. Let's cover the scout real quick. Check the alone. I'm just going to call her Check. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. She is solely here to scout for us. Now, here's a critical point with her. She is very low level, and you might think that that's a negative. It's not, because what's nice about this is none of her skill set is already predetermined by the dipshit AI. Let me show you the alternative. Arwa is already high level, so she's going to level slowly, which means you'll have less ability to change stuff. You see this shit? She has bow and crossbow. Theoretically, that's worthless. I will talk in a moment about, in this case, how ironically it's a good thing. But the bottom line is you don't want to have a character with like 100 points and everything because they're just not very useful for you. Jack of all trades are not what you want to seek in Bannerlord from your companions. You want specialists. She, Check the alone, is going to be my scout. So I'm going to pour all of my resources for her into scouting. Now notice it says scout down here. That means that all of these perks affect our army. Any of these that say governor will not affect it, obviously, because she's never or almost never going to be inside a city in the governor. She's going to be with us, right? And all the ones, of course, that say things like party leader, that's also not going to affect her. So party leader here, that bottom one, she won't get that, but she will get the scout. So obviously this helps you determine which of these skills you want to assign her. We want her to have all the skills where it says scout. Now in this case, it's both of them, and then you could flip a coin, but I like to see tracks where you can essentially identify where the enemy is further away. Although this, actually, I'm going to choose that, right? Chasing down an enemy, 2% speed when you're chasing somebody, that's enough to sway me on that decision. Speed kills or gets you killed, and we'll go with that. Now, tactics, again, her skills, none of these matter. So even though I'm pouring points into her cunning, all of these skills under tactics, look at party leader, army commander, she's never going to be any of these, or rarely going to be them, right? So we will ignore I think roguery too. Yeah, we will ignore these as well because she's never going to be running around doing tournaments, right? She's going to be in our army with her proverbial hand up to her eyes on her horse doing reconnaissance for us, right? So she's our scout. That's all she does. We give her a really fast horse, and all the other role-playing elements of that, right? We give her some camouflage and she goes and does some good shit for us. Now, we are going to level up her other skills because you can only put so many focus points and attribute points into one thing. So what we want to do is we want to give her the ability to ride a horse well. Now, notice again, governor plus 0.5 daily loyalty. She's not going to do that, but that is something I'm going to talk about in a second. So we're going to give her skills in riding and bow because I want her to essentially be a horse archer, which is a high degree of survivability in battle. And excuse me, a lot of times, of course, she'll be at the back of the army because I don't want her getting killed in battle. It still may happen and we'll just shrug our shoulders and move out. Now, I'll cover this real quick. Notice there's no skill points down here in our dipshit warriors, right? We want them dumb, in fact. We don't want them reading Voltaire. We don't want them reading Rousseau or any Karl Marx. We want these warriors strictly going into battle with absolutely no intelligence. In fact, this is the same way that the American education system prepares us to eat sugar, rack up credit card debt, and not question authority, right? Be ultra patriot regardless of what the country does. These are all things that a lot of modern countries do. Now look at this guy. He looks dumb, right? This is another one of our warriors. Again, you'll notice all of the points poured into his fighting skills. Okay, so let's talk about Arwa for a few minutes here. Arwa is not just a pretty face, right? You look at her and you say, oh, you're just voting with your eyes or whatever. You married a trophy gal. I looked at Arwa beforehand, and she has some skills that will shock you. One of the most important things when it comes to a city is having a good governor, especially as you start a new campaign, because you will have problems when you take foreign castles as well, foreign cities as well. Now, I'm going to show you the town elements here. Prosperity, that's basically how many people are in the town, right? Food, obviously, is how much food they're eating. You notice the prosperity, the higher the prosperity, the more food they're eating. That makes sense, right? Of course, it's low right now because they were just sieged. Now, the next two are the most important, right? Your loyalty and your security. These two skills right here are the most two important attributes for a city early on. The reason is that you're going to be threatened from outside and within. If you're Aserai and you take a Southern Empire city, it's very likely to be in a stage where it's close to revolt. Cities revolt, there's a chance of revolting below 25 loyalty, and security affects loyalty, right? So if you have bad security and high loyalty, pretty soon you'll have bad loyalty. So we want loyalty and security. Now, security is increased partly by getting rid of bandits and shit like that. You got the militia and the garrison, but your loyalty is mostly affected by recent events, security, and your governor. That's where Arwa is going to come into play, right? She's going to be our calming element, right? She's going to be our charismatic governor who comes in and throws a bunch of scraps of food to the peasants and wows them. And how is she going to do that? Strangely enough, with her combat skills. It's very bizarre, but if you scan and search for these skills, and I've done a little bit here, see if I got my list here. So yeah, right here. On one-handed skill, look at this, +5 daily security to the governor's settlement, right? Just for having that weapon skill. I guess everybody's terrified because she's like knocking people around with their sword. The other one, of course, you get militia, but early on, plus loyalty and security are way more important. Again, you should see them hand in hand because if your security's low, pretty soon your loyalty will be low as well, right? Now, you see the loyalty here is like 100. That's because it's their own settlement. Even though they're starving, it says they're starving and their loyalty is 99. That's not very accurate. Ask Louis XVI what happens with your peasants if they're starving. Ask him how the loyalty goes. It didn't work out terrific for Louis XVI or Marie Antoinette. Now, so this skill here, again, adds security to this town, by her being a governor, and of course she will be a governor, right? I will impregnate her and declare her governor. Similarly with this one, right? 175 one-handed, plus 30% security by troops in the garrison. This is a main factor of security. If you have troops in the garrison, it's like simulating these guys are going around bullying all the thieves and putting all the fucking people in their place. This one as well. Yeah, so mounted archery, plus 20% security provided by archers in the governor's settlement. So you put archers in the garrison, and her as the governor increases their job at security. She's got Oh, she's got both of these. This is great. She has plus 30% security provided by ranged troops in the garrison. So again, we put archers in there and she gets benefits from both of those perks, maybe even all three of these perks. Notice here too, minus 15% wages in the governor's castle. This is a military under her bow skills. So she's getting all these skills, even though she's dumb as a rock and theoretically her social skills are bad. She is a badass governor, right? Yeah, this one too. Look at this. She's already spec'd out 30% security provided by ranged troops in the garrison, right? So she's getting all of these benefits. This is actually one of the benefits. She has this too. She has 150. Is it 150 throwing? It is. So I need to change this one. I need to go into the trainer and respec that. Although here's what you could actually do. She's not going to be governing today, right? So these skills, I need to change this one as well. But here's the thing. Okay, this one's set up right. Here's the thing. If some of her skills are benefiting her combat in the short term, just like that thing about old age, what I can do is later on, I can change this to this one up here, right? This discipline, because she's not a governor today. She won't be a governor for probably, I don't know, 3-4 episodes, right? Once we start forming our own kingdom. You can't be a governor when you're a vassal or a mercenary, I think. Anyways, we won't want it until we have our own kingdom. So in the long term, we're going to select her as focus because one of the most important things for the governor, as I've already said 3 or 4 times, is loyalty and security. There's other perks she will bring, but these are critical. The loyalty in particular. So she's going to definitely change this 150 bow skill. Went to throwing. She actually has some other benefits here that I got a little list here. I've made a list over the course of my months playing this game. Look at this one. Here's another one. Plus 20%. You get either daily security in the government settlement, plus 1 daily settlement, or you get an increase from the troops that are there. And athletics. Okay, she's going to get this skill eventually. This is a very powerful one right here. Yeah, this is it. 175 athletics. So she's not there yet. In fact, she's capped. So what are we going to do, right? We are going to focus on this because I just told you loyalty is vital for her to be a good governor. We've got a skill point and an attribute point. We're going to do it now, right? You don't buy a fire extinguisher when your house is on fire. We're going to prepare her to be a governor from the get-go. And this is important in a Bannerlord campaign because for some reason you cannot trade attribute points. Now we're going to increase that skill even more by putting her on foot, right? We want to power level her foot skills. So we're going to give her a shield. We're taking her horse away, right? We say, woman, get off your horse. You need more athleticism. You're clumsy. You're tripping all over the place. We need you to get to 175 athletics here. I'm looking down at my sheet so that you can get this perk. Whoops, that's Wazu. So we can get her this perk at 175 athletics. I think we can get there without any more perk points. And she will then have that additional loyalty. So that's 3 different, that's 3 different perks that all add points to her loyalty. And that is tremendously important when she's a governor of a city. Here's another one, heroic leader. Oh, so this is the 3rd one. So 75 leadership, she gains this other perk that again increases loyalty. So between the 3 of these perks, this loyalty, 150 bow, and 175 athleticism, she is dramatically increasing the loyalty of the place that she is governing at. And I can't emphasize to you fellas how important that is. If you have rebellions while you're trying to form your kingdom, it's like fighting 3 enemies at once, right? You got towns fucking rebelling left and right. They're not building shit. Your peasants are rioting and shit, right? They're burning down your mansion while you're away. Louis the 16th is happening, right? You're getting beheaded. If you don't know the story of Louis the 16th, he was the last Bourbon king of France. The people basically had enough. They were taxing all the poor peasants. They rioted, and he fucking eventually took over and beheaded the guy, right? So you want to, there's a moral to the story. You want to have good loyalty in Bannerlord. The other moral to the story is actually for leaders all throughout the world. You can shear sheep once, but never skin them, right? You want to very gently tax your people, because if they get to a point like France in 1788, 89, and you have a bad winter, your head is going to be gone, right? You're going to be on the chopping block, just like Louis the 16th and Marie Antoinette. Let them eat cake, except you won't be saying that very long because they're going to remove your head. All right, so it's time to do a little bit of war here against the Aserai, and again, I will load the music on for this. All right, well, a little change of plans here. We're going to go ahead and ramp the difficulty up to the max early on here because I want this campaign to be brutal hard. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you the process of adding both the strength and AI mod and the powerful hero mods. I've been talking about it at various points during this campaign. I'm going to show you how effectively to make your game brutal, hell mode difficult, right? We are going to be facing gigantic enemy armies. We are going to be facing ominous enemy heroes, and we're going to take this difficulty to a whole new level for this campaign. Alright, so there's going to be two mods that we're primarily relying upon to make the game difficulty. We're going to go into our mod options here, right? And we're going to use powerful heroes. Now, we're not going to be adjusting our heroes, right? We're not going to be adjusting the player or the ally heroes, but we're going to be the player, yeah, so these are the player and ally. What we want to do is adjust the enemy heroes because I always find it sort of pathetic that Manchug and whatnot, these guys just get annihilated instantly in battle. So what we're going to do, we're not going to fuck with anything with this mod other than their hit points. We're basically making these guys beasts. It's almost like you can almost hear the boss music, whether you're playing Diablo or any other game, right? We want these guys to be badass. So now they'll all have 250% of whatever hit points they would normally have. Now this is the main mod that I'm going to be relying on to alter the game significantly. I'd like to credit Joel Hall here. He's the guy who helped me run the Discord channel. I should say he runs the Discord channel. I just show up once in a while. So we're going to use this to alter all kinds of things, right? This first one, it gives you more grain. You can see on the bottom there, it says for every 7 member of troops, you get more grain, capping out at 300. This one increases Lord party troops, player, party, clan effective. And that's important. I'll talk about that in a second. Now, it also affects the militia for all towns. I do want the towns to all have more militia, but not manifestly so. I don't want to hugely alter the game, especially where it might benefit us. This is a big one though. Daily Lord, each skill XP, right? That means that in addition to their troops leveling up, so they'll have higher level troops, their own skills are going to be rocketing. This will allow them to somewhat keep up with Wazu and Arwa and whatnot. Additionally, of course, we're giving them more gold because why? We're going to be giving them more troops as well. This mod artificially just dumps these troops on these enemy lords every day. The civilian recruits, that means they get infantry and archers and stuff like that. And if they have a cavalry that's in a non-noble line, they can get some of those troops just sort of randomly dumped into their army. I do think it starts off with lower level troops when you do this, but of course, if you're increasing their XP, they become higher level pretty quick. And then, of course, this is the noble one, right? We're adding noble recruits to their armies. Finally, you can adjust things like daily town grain increment. I don't really want all our cities starving. That'll help us a tiny bit, but it will hugely help the enemy. Daily town prosperity, same thing. It's very, very slowly going to increase the size of cities, which I think is good for an epic campaign. And then they get some specialized troops down here. So using these two mods, I think we're about to see a dramatic change and difficulty in this campaign. All right, friends. Well, I'm actually going to wrap this episode up here at this stage. Expect to see more from Wazu and his friends in the coming days, but this episode ran a little longer than I expected, so we're gonna go ahead and snip this in half. But expect more elite horse riding from Wazu and his friends very soon.